Following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFangy coming to you with what will hopefully be a successful review. And tonight we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series Voyager class War for Cybertron on Ironhide. So yes, here is Ironhide. As a lot of Transformers fans and collectors suspected, he is the mold mate of the Studio Series Gamer Edition Ratchet figure that came out last year in 2024, and it was shown off at, I believe it was New York Toy Fair for the first time, that this year for 2025, which is the 41st anniversary of the Transformers franchise, the style of boxes that Transformers action figures are coming out with in both the Studio Series and the Age of the Primes lines, the packaging has changed, so this is the new packaging for 2025. First and foremost, as my bedroom lamp is reflecting off of it, plastic windows are back. So yes, open window Transformers figures like we got during the 3 years of the Legacy line, as you can see by Legacy Sandstorm back there. The days of open windows are over, and it's back to having plastic windows on the boxes of Transformers action figures again. So that's really nice to see that there. So here's the new style of packaging. Here on the top corner now you've got the Transformers catchphrase, "More than meets the eye," along with the faction symbol of the character you're getting. The number of steps it takes to transform the figure is now on the front of the box in addition to the back. So Ironhide transforms back and forth between robot mode and alt mode in 28 steps. And on the bottom is a suggestion to the youngest amount of people who can buy this action figure. Here on this side of the box you've got artwork of Ironhide in his robot mode, and there's a close-up of his alt mode, which is a Cybertronian truck. And the word Transformers, unlike the past few years where it's been vertically on the going up and down the side of the box, so you'd have to turn the box sideways to read it. The word Transformers is now on the bottom of the box horizontally, so you don't have to tilt the box 90 degrees to read the word Transformers. So here's Ironhide in the Studio Series line. There's the blue stripe. He is part of the War for Cybertron video game. He is an Autobot, and his name is Ironhide. There's Hasbro's logo. Here on the top of the box, you've got the subline that the figure is a part of. So for Ironhide, and again with the name and faction symbol, so for Ironhide, War for Cybertron, here is Takara Tomi's logo on the top of the box. On this side of the box, you've got, again, the faction symbol of the Transformer you're getting, the word Transformers, Studio Series, and the size class of the figure, Voyager class, repeated in 5 languages. And then on this side of the box, you've got the same artwork on the front of the box. So here's a close-up of Ironhide in his robot mode. And again, his name, faction symbol, Transformers, Studio Series, War for Cybertron. And one thing I was quick to notice about the new packaging for the Transformers Studio Series and the Age of the Primes lines, something that has me wondering if we've reached the end of an era, because as if you look all over Ironhide's box, unlike the other Studio Series Transformers, such as the TF1 Optimus Prime Megatron figures behind me, I mean, one thing that's missing on them, I was going to grab another Transformers figure there, Legacy Twin Twist, but reaching around back here to use Optimus Prime's or Megatron's box, whichever one I can reach for first. And it's Optimus Prime. But one thing I've noticed on the new Transformers figures for 2025, something on the new style of packaging that's missing. So here's a size comparison of Voyager class Ironhide with Deluxe class TF1 Optimus Prime. I'm from Studio Series. Aries is that since the word Transformers is now horizontally on the side of the box, and you've now got artwork here on the top corner of the box, one thing that is gone from these new Transformers boxes is this right here. So it appears that the Age of the Primes line, along with the Transformers figures in the Studio Series line, they are no longer sublines of Transformers Generations. So it appears that after 15 years, the Transformers Generations line, the original Generations line, was launched way back in 2010. So it appears after 15 years, Hasbro has decided to end the Transformers Generations line altogether. And so, if you go to the Transformers Wikipedia, and you type in Transformers Generations toy line, or line of action figures, the different sublines that were under the umbrella of Transformers Generations is all of the Chug-style Transformers action figures that have come out going all the way back to 2010. And so it appears after 15 years, the Generations banner is ending, and so Age of the Primes is now the next subline that is not directly tied to Generations. Same thing with Studio Series. Studio Series is now its own separate thing. But since the style of boxes are the same, it's assumed that now, unofficially, that they can interact with each other even more so than figures in, say, the Studio Series line and the Legacy Transformers only could. At least the Studio Series 86 figures were supposed to interact with the Legacy figures. As you can see there behind me, Generations logo is on the boxes for Commander Class Studio Series 86 Ultra Magnus and Commander Class Armada Optimus Prime. There's the Generations logo above my thumb, as I desperately try to point to both boxes in the back. So yeah, it's for me, Generations has been my all-time favorite Transformers line, and to see it end after 15 years by it not being printed on the Generations logo, not appearing on any of the boxes for the new Transformers figures, that's kind of a somber moment to know that Hasbro is retiring the Transformers Generations banner in favor of both Age of the Primes and Studio Series now being their own things going forward. But bringing focus back here to Ironhide, here he is on the back of his box. We've got product photos of his robot mode and his alt mode. Again, he is a repaint with a new head sculpt of Studio Series Gamer Edition Ratchet. He has the exact same weapons, the rifle and the axe that Ratchet came with, just now done in different colors, the same way he is. Transforms in 28 logos, just like it said on the front of the box. And up here you've got a one-sentence bio in 5 languages, which reads in English: Ironhide works with Optimus Prime to remove Dark Energon from Cybertron's core. So I believe that was a part of the War for Cybertron video game, was trying to stop Cybertron from being corrupted by evil Dark Energon that the Decepticons tried to use to take over the planet. And there you've got a screenshot of Ironhide from the War for Cybertron video game. And with that said, in case you guys couldn't see it because of my light reflecting off it, if you look inside the box there's now a generic colorless background similar to what we got with the Transformers 1 action figures, kind of, sort of. Although it's I just put my foot in my own mouth because it actually is a screenshot. But for the Studio Series Transformers figures being released in 2025, there is no longer a diorama from the movie or video game that they appeared in the background. It's now just a generic box that has the word Transformers and both the Autobot and Decepticon faction symbols on a hexagon type background there. So you can kind of see it there here next to Ironhide's shoulder, the Autobot and Decepticon logos. So yeah, the interior packaging, for the Studio Series Transformers, I'm assuming it's the same with Age of the Primes, even though they didn't have it, but the days of the diorama cutouts being included with Studio Series Transformers figures is now over as well. Also, if you want to throw the entire box out after you open up the figure, you can do so if you want. There's nothing really worth saving now, which is kind of ironic that now that we have plastic windows back on Transformers action figures, that the part of the box that was supposed to be saved on the ones that had open windows with the diorama, that's now gone here. So kind of ironic that a box that can be mint sealed without any exposure to dust, dirt, bacteria, or germs, which open window Transformers action figures fail to guard against. Hence that it's somewhat ironic to me. So I babbled on long enough, so let's hurry up and get Ironhide out of his box and take a close look at him in his robot mode. Alright, and so really fast before we look at Ironhide himself, here is what I was talking about the interior diorama now being gone, and now it's just a plain blue generic insert packaging in here. So that's the packaging for the interior of the boxes for Studio Series Transformers going forward. So here is Ironhide out of the box in his robot mode, and if you have the Studio Series Gamer Edition Ratchet figure that was released last year in 2024, Then the only new thing about Ironhide, apart from his paint job, is his head sculpt. And I apologize for my camera making it blurry as I get closer. But it is really impressive head sculpt. You can tell even from a distance that this is Ironhide. By all accounts, even if you don't have the Gamer Edition Ratchet figure. One minor nitpick that I do have with Ironhide is that the red Autobot logo on his abdomen, it's almost the same shade of red that the red plastic he's made of is, and so I kind of wish that Hasbro and Takara Tomy would go back to giving Autobot and Decepticon faction logos outline frames, aims at least for characters who have a red Autobot logo on a red paint job or red plastic. Same thing with purple Decepticons having a Decepticon logo on them. But yeah, it's really hard to see Ironhide's Autobot logo there on him unless you hold it at a different angle. My camera did pick it up there for a split second, but if you hold it up to a light, then the Autobot logo almost disappears. Here's, for instance, if I do this, as you can see right there, when the light is shining there on Ironhide's abdomen, there's no Autobot logo to be seen. But that's just a minor nitpick that I have with the figure. So, as I said, if you have Gamer Edition Ratchet with Ironhide, you're basically getting Gamer Edition Ratchet in mostly red with now gray plastic bits. It's on it, so that's really not much to talk about. Articulation's the same. Despite the new head sculpt, Ironhide can look left and right 180 degrees. The head's just wide enough that you can't unfortunately turn it all the way around, so Ironhide can look left and right, but he can't look backwards, so he basically has the same amount of head articulation as most human people do. The joints are all the same. Aim universal jointed shoulders, which are slightly hindered by the shoulder pads that hide the shoulder joint. Bicep swivel, hinged elbows, wrist rotation, waist rotation, so Ironhide can spin in 360 degree, east clockwise and counterclockwise. Legs can go out. They can technically go out slightly over 180 degrees if you move the shoulder pads and the arms out of the way, so Ironhide can do a full split. It universal jointed hips, so legs can go forward that far, backwards this far, or depending on how you angle it to get around Ironhide's backpack kibble there. The leg can technically go backwards this far, but it'll be angled outward this far due to the backpack at kibble. You do have you technically have a thigh swivel right above the knee, bend at the knee, and then you have ankle rockers, which are very stiff because the way the feet transform, you can activate the ankle rocker if you want to get the figure into a wide-legged pose. But other than that, and the toes can move up and down due to transformation. So, but apart from that, overall, same amount of same exact joints used on Ratchet from the Gamer Edition line. Weapons are the same as well. Unlike Ratchet's, and I said that Ironhide came with the same weapons that Ratchet did. That is incorrect. Let me just take a look at something here. And I have to apologize. Throughout the review so far, I've been saying that Ironhide came with the exact same weapons as Ratchet. He comes with the same axe, but not the same hand weapon. Ironhide comes with a laser gun, whereas Ratchet had a three-pronged grappling type laser cannon, and that had 3 claws at the end. I don't know, since I've only collected a handful of Studio Series Transformers figures, I don't know if Ironhide's weapon is brand new or if it's been used on previous Studio Series Transformers figures. I'm leaning towards no, because I just looked at the Transformers Wiki at the other Gamer Edition Transformers figures that have come out so far, and I don't believe any of them have come with Ironhide's laser gun. And if you guys could please let me know in the comments section if Ironhide's laser gun is brand new or if it's recycled from another previously released Transformers action figure, please let me know. But for now, it is nice to see that at least his handheld weapon is brand new and that he can actually hold it in his hand. Ever since it was shown off that the main gimmick with the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron video game or Gamer Edition Transformers figures has been that just like in the actual video games, instead of having the holding on to the weapons in their hands, the gimmick with these Gamer Edition Transformers figures is that you can pop off the right side arm of the Transformers figures and have the weapon come out of their arm, and that's a gimmick in the game where the right side arm of the Transformers character would retract and would transform into the weapon that they used. And the best way to incorporate that gimmick of transforming the arm into a weapon here for the Studio Series Gamer Edition Transformers figures has been to just have the right arm pop off and insert the weapon into it. It's a gimmick that I haven't enjoyed ever since the Gamer Edition Transformers action figures were first released with Gamer Edition Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and Cliffjumper. So I'm glad, at least starting with Ratchet and now continuing with Ironhide, that fans and collectors now have the option of having the weapons be able to actually be held in their hands, because the weapons that came with the first Gamer Edition Transformers figures, since they were designed to be inserted into the right side arm, they didn't have a 5mm peg to attach to in any place. So storing them when you're transforming the characters into alt mode, it's basically stick it here on the side, the top, or the back of the alt mode and call it a day. So even though these versions of the Transformers characters aren't supposed to be robots in disguise, it's still a bit of an eyesore when you don't really have any type of weapon storage. That said, there is technically, unfortunately, no proper weapon storage for this mold when you transform the figure into alt mode. But it is nice that you don't have to pop off the arm to hold onto the weapons, and you can actually hold it in their hands now. So for a size comparison, here is Studio Series War for Cybertron Ironhide with Studio Series Gamer Edition Ratchet, released last year in 2024. The blades of the axes, I don't know if it's just my eyes or if it's just something in bedroom light, and it is not. The axes, the blades themselves, they're made out of the same shade of dark gray plastic. For some reason my camera is making the plastic on Ratchet look like it's slightly darker, but it's not. It's the exact same shade. One thing that is different, which my camera is doing the reverse of the axe blade of the axe itself, is that the paint used on the blade of Ironhide's axe, it's a slightly more reddish shade of paint than Ratchet's axe. Ratchet's axe is almost like a rusty red, where Ironhide's axe, the blade, is solid red. But yeah, the dark gray plastic is virtually identical, so it's amazing how my camera is making an optical illusion of the opposite, where the blades of the axe look like they're the same, but the plastic looks like it's different, but the opposite is true when you look at it with your own eyes. And again, here's Ironhide's new laser gun weapon with Ratchet's grappling hook weapon. So I apologize for saying that it was the exact same thing you got with Gamer Edition Ratchet at the start of the review. Ironhide's new head sculpt, it is shorter than Ratchet's head sculpt, so at the tops of their heads, Ratchet does stand slightly taller than Ironhide does, due to the V-shaped head crest making Ratchet's head taller than Ironhide's. But they're still pretty fantastic looking action figures, and so here's some of the paint job differences, is having them standing side by side with each other. One thing I am noticing here, I really should have done more research before starting to record the review, but I'm just so thrilled to finally have Gamer Edition Ironhide in here. It's not just the head sculpt. Ironhide does have a newly sculpted chest to further distinguish him from Ratchet, so historically, where the only mold difference between Ironhide and Ratchet was that they had different head sculpts, that's not the same with the Gamer Edition Transformers figures. They even have different shoulder pads now that I'm looking at them. So yeah, there is a lot more. Gamer Edition Ironhide is one of those Transformers action figures where if you don't give him a good look over and compare him with his moldmate Ratchet, he really is more than meets the eye. I thought the only difference between the two of them was Ironhide having a new head sculpt, but they've got different shoulder pads and different torso plates. But apart from that, everything else is looking pretty much the same, which is why I tricked myself into thinking that the only difference between them was the head sculpt. Same wheels, same feet, same pelvis, same thighs, same shins, same lower arms, same backpack kibble for alt kibble, which is parts of the alt mode. So yeah, Ironhide does have a new head, a new chest, and new shoulder pads to distinguish him from Ratchet. Ratchet, along with his new laser gun weapon. So yeah, he does have more parts retooled on him than you would probably expect. And just for some other fun size comparisons besides his mold-made Gamer Edition Ratchet, for a size comparison with some other Cybertron Alt Mode Ironhide action figures, here is the Studio Series 2025. I have War for Cybertron Voyager class Ironhide with Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Siege Deluxe class Ironhide. What a mouthful that was to say to not get confused. And here is Deluxe Class Studio Series Bumblebee Movie Ironhide. I said this in my video review of Gamer Edition Ratchet, but I was almost certain 1.5 years ago at the start of 2024 that Ironhide and Ratchet were two characters we weren't going to get in the Gamer Edition subline of Studio Series, so I got the Bumblebee Movie Ironhide and Ratchet figure since I figured that was the closest we were going to get to actual video game action figures of Ironhide and Ratchet, and so it was a real surprise for me when Hasbro announced Gamer Edition Ratchet and when he was released last year. So, I don't regret buying the Bumblebee movie version of Ironhide, because Ratchet and Ironhide have always been two of my favorite Transformers characters. And the Gamer Edition figures are pretty incredible in their own right. And just to have some fun. And here also are the versions of Ironhide and Ratchet from Siege and the Bumblebee movie with their respective mold mates as well. And this is one of the reasons why I tricked myself into thinking that the only retooled parts Ironhide had to distinguish himself from Ratchet was his head sculpt, and not failing to notice until halfway through the review that he has different chest plates and shoulder pads. And it's because historically, well, first of all, the original Generation 1 Ironhide and Ratchet action figures, they didn't actually have heads, they were headless, and it wasn't until the G1 cartoon with Sunbow Productions where they actually got head sculpts. So the heads have somewhat ironically become the defining traits that not only identify Ratchet and Ironhide as Transformers characters, but distinguish them from each other. And as you just heard, I accidentally left my bedroom window open, so that was a car going by in the street. But the point I was trying to make is bring in the reason for my confusion with the new sculpted parts on Studio Series War for Cybertron video game Ironhide is that comparing the Bumblebee movie versions of Ironhide and Ratchet with each other, the only sculpted parts they have to distinguish them are their heads. Everything else about them, sculpt-wise, is the exact same, but the only thing separating them from each other are their different paint jobs. The Siege versions of Ironhide and Ratchet, they technically have slightly more retooled parts compared to each other, but historically most G1-inspired Ironhide and Ratchet figures, they only have a separate head sculpt, different head sculpts to distinguish them mold-wise from each other. Some other recent examples of Ironhide and Ratchet figures that where the only difference separating them was their head sculpts were the Transformers Studio Series 86 Core Class Ironhide and Ratchet figures, which I failed to bring out here for this video review, because I wanted to keep it simple with size comparisons here. But yeah, it is nice that the Gamer Edition Ironhide and Ratchet, the route Hasbro and Takara Tomy took with the amount of retool parts the two figures have to separate them, to further distinguish them from each other. Instead of going the traditional route like they did with the Bumblebee movie figures, where the only difference are the different head sculpts, they went the same route as they did with the Siege versions of them, and where there are more retooled parts than you might think there are just giving them a first glance look. Okay, the Siege versions of Ironhide and Ratchet, apart from the head sculpts, they have Ratchet was the second version of the Siege mold that was released. Ironhide was the first. They also have the different front bumper sections and different tires for their alt modes. So it's not much of a difference, the number of parts that are retooled, but it is noticeably there. And historically, when it comes to action figures of Ironhide and Ratchet, as far as which one is released first and then which one is the repaint and the retool, Hasbro and Tomy have gone back and forth. For the Bumblebee movie and the Gamer Edition Voyager class versions of these figures, Ratchet was the one who came up first, and then Ironhide was the retool. But for other figures such as Siege Ironhide and Siege Ratchet, Ironhide was the first figure released, and Ratchet was the retool. That was the same also with the, I believe it was the same with the Studio Series 86 Voyager class figures. Ironhide was the original mold, and Ratchet was the retool. For the Studio Series, that was the Voyager class figures. For the Studio Series 86 Core class figures, Ratchet was first, and Ironhide was the retool. But then the first ever Chug-style action figures of Ironhide and Ratchet, which were the Transformers Universe Classics Deluxe Class Ironhide and Ratchet figures, which were released way back in 2008 and 2009. Ironhide was the original use of the mold, and Ratchet was the retool. So the number of, for the sake of time and grammar, Chug-style Ironhide and Ratchet figures, it's a 50-50 chance of which one will be released first and which one will be released second. But regardless, the point I'm trying to make is no matter who comes first, Ironhide or Ratchet, it's almost guaranteed these days now that when Hasbro and Tomy design a figure for Ironhide or Ratchet based on the G1 figures, it's almost certain the mold will be used a second time to create the other character, and I am all in for that. I applaud Hasbro and Tomy trying to bring both of my hands in. I applaud the decision for them to use the molds twice to give fans and collectors both Ironhide and Ratchet in the same mold. I can't think off the top of my head if there have been any G1 inspired Ironhide and Ratchet figures that weren't repainted or retooled into each other. There are unfortunately a handful of different versions of Ironhide and Ratchet that do exist out there that are not mold mates with each other. The most famous versions being the versions of Ironhide and Ratchet that appeared in the first live-action Transformers movie released back in 2007, and subsequent Studio Series versions of the live-action movie versions of Ironhide and Ratchet have not been mold mates, but I'm still thrilled that the G1 inspired versions do get used. That Hasbro and Tomy double dip into the mold. So setting the Ratchet figures off to the side for one last size comparison, here is Studio Series Gamer Edition, basically Ironhide next to his Siege and Bumblebee movie action figures. Here's one last size comparison with his mold mate Gamer Edition Ratchet in robot mode, and they are both equally impressive and fantastic, and I enjoy having both of them. So let's hurry up and get Ironhide transformed into his alt mode, and we will wrap up the review. Alright, and so here is Studio Series War for Cybertron Gamer Edition Ironhide transformed into his alt mode. Just like Gamer Edition Ratchet, it's a Cybertronian truck, but unlike Ratchet, where it's supposed to be modified in an ambulance, this is just a Cybertronian truck, so this is the Cybertron equivalent of a minivan or SUV. And you see, pretty impressive looking. Same exact wheels as Ratchet, so Ironhide's wheels, they spin with the same amount of force that Ratchet does, and I love that pinned wheels are now back. They aren't clipped on anymore, so that somewhat increases the longevity of the wheels on these Transformers figures. So the newly sculpted parts from robot mode that Ironhide had, there's only one that really carries over here to his alt mode, and it was the bottom of his front torso. It makes the front center of Ironhide's front bumper for his alt mode look different compared to Ratchet. And then I'll bring out Ratchet in just a moment, but before I put Ironhide's weapons on, he does have some more different sculpted parts, and these panels, you can't really see them in his robot mode because they end up inside the lower half of his legs, but right here, the top middle section of Ironhide the spot where the 3 rectangular pegs where you store the axe weapon when he's in alt mode. The pegs are the same size and shape as they are on Ratchet, and they're in the same spot, but the panel sections here that end up on the inside of Ironhide's lower leg in robot mode, that's all newly sculpted parts compared to Ratchet. So first size comparison here is Gamer Edition Ironhide next to Gamer Edition Ratchet, and there's the different front bumper section, as you can see right there, to distinguish them from each other. So that's really nice. The front and it's not just the front middle section, the front panel sections that formed the backpack. In robot mode, they looked almost the same because they have almost the same shaped headlights, but those entire sections I noticed when I was transforming are different sculpted parts as well, so that's a really nice optical illusion there from Hasbro and Takara Tomy. But I did notice this first when I was transforming, that as you can see right here, it's kind of hard to tell since Ironhide has a lot of red on him, but like I said, these parts right here where the axe and his weapons are stored, the panel sections are different on Ironhide than they are from Ratchet, so at first glance he looks like he has the exact same alt mode as Ratchet, but there's enough retool parts that you can distinguish the two of them from each other when you give them both a good look over. So once again, Gamer Edition Ironhide really is more than meets the eye because he has more retooled parts than he appears to have at first glance. So unfortunately, just like Studio Series Gamer Edition Ratchet, the only actual weapon storage Ironhide has as for his weapons in alt mode is just plugging the axe onto the top of his roof section and then plugging his rifle onto the back of his bumper. And depending on which, it doesn't really matter, but if you have the rifle facing one direction or the other, the barrel of the rifle does stick out farther than his alt mode does. So if Ironhide were to drive by, enter an alleyway and drive by a wall, bang, his laser gun is going to come flying off. So I kind of wish they would have at least retooled the panel sections for Ironhide, where it's not like Ratchet, where the handheld the laser gun weapon, it doesn't just stick off the back of the alt mode. I mean, for Ratchet, his grappling claws do stick out slightly farther, so if he were to drive down an alleyway surrounded by walls on either side, Ratchet's weapon would come off as well, but with Ironhide's it is more prominent. So I just wish that Hasbro would have at least retooled one part of Ironhide. I wish Hasbro and Takara Tomy would have retooled would be the weapon storage. But you can, like I just did right here, you can distinguish Ironhide and Ratchet's weapon storage for the weapons that end up on the back. You can have them facing opposite directions if you want to further distinguish them from each other. It's kind of difficult to plug the axe facing the other way, since the pegs are designed for it to attach to the roof only facing this way, so the axe is stored in the exact same configuration as they do for Ratchet and Ironhide. But at least you can use your imagination and have the handle of the axe double as a laser can, and when they're in their alt modes. Despite the new retooled parts, Ironhide's windows for his alt mode are in the exact same place as Ratchet, and again the wheels are painted exact same tires on Ironhide and Ratchet, but Ratchet has much more red edge striping on his tires compared to Ironhide. And Ironhide has almost the exact same size Autobot logo on the same part of his alt mode that Ratchet does, but again, it's a slightly brighter red on a slightly darker red, so depending on which angle you look at it, the Autobot logo could end up fading into it. So I kind of wish that, at least for Autobots that have red as their main paint job, Hasbro and Takara Tomy would consider giving the Autobot logo an outline just to see it in alt mode. Alright, and just to wrap things up for a size comparison in alt mode, here is Gamer Edition Studio Series Ironhide next to Siege Ironhide and Bumblebee Movie Ironhide. So as you can see, in robot mode, Siege Ironhide was almost the same height as Gamer Edition Ironhide, even though this is a deluxe and this is a Voyager. In alt mode, Gamer Edition Ironhide, even though he's not as long as Siege Ironhide, he is much beefier in alt mode. Oh, so that's where the size class distinctions between them shine. And then, of course, poor Bumblebee movie Ironhide, he's the smallest of all three of them, being a smaller. All their deluxe class size deluxe class figures have gotten smaller since 2019 when the Siege Ironhide was released, but yeah, nice fun size comparison there with them. And here he is once again, sitting on my table as the weapon falls off the back of him. Here is Gamer Edition Ironhide next to Ratchet. So really nice seeing the two of them standing side by side with each other. And just, of course, just to bring them all out since they were here already, here also are Siege, Ratchet, and Bumblebee movie Ironhide. So it's really nice having all of these Cybertron alt mode versions of Ironhide and Ratchet. I said earlier in the review that Ironhide and Ratchet have always been my favorite Studio Series Transformers figures, and the new Gamer Edition figures are no exception. I really enjoy seeing all these versions of Ironhide and Ratchet. Imagine having them in my collection and seeing them standing side by side with each other. So, to finish things off, for the final proverbial question of the review, do I recommend getting the Studio Series War for Cybertron video game, Gamer Edition, Ironhide, Voyager class figure, and adding it to your Transformers collection? Absolutely, I do. Even if you have Gamer Edition Ratchet, Gamer Edition Ironhide is a standalone figure. He's one of the larger and beefier Ironhide action figures that has been released by Hasbro and Takara Tomy. I don't know with absolute certainty if it's this figure or if it's the Studio Series 86 version, but I believe the Studio Series Gamer Edition Ironhide and Ratchet, even though they're based on the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron video games by High Moon Studios, they, I believe, hold the title of being the physically largest Chug G1 Ironhide and Ratchet figures, although the title of largest Chug figures of Ironhide and Ratchet, it's between them and the Studio Series 86 Voyager class Ironhide and Ratchet figures. I know the physically largest Ironhide and Ratchet figures out there are the Masterpiece figures, but for Chug Generation style Ironhide and Ratchet figures, as far as the ones that are the largest, physically largest G1 inspired Ironhide and Ratchet figures, I don't know if it's Gamer Edition or if it's Studio Series 86 that are the physically largest ones, but they are a top contender, and that's another reason why I enjoy having them here. So thank you guys all so much. This has been the TFN Geek, and until next time, you guys, this has been my review of Studio Series Gamer Edition Ironhide. If you see him in the store, get him, and if you passed on Studio Series Gamer Edition Ratchet and you're having second thoughts with Ironhide, I recommend getting both these figures. This has become my favorite of the Studio Series Gamer Edition molds. Ironhide and Ratchet are the best of the Gamer Edition series, which unfortunately is not saying much since most of the Gamer Edition action figures haven't been the greatest for most Transformers fans and collectors. But I do recommend at least getting these guys if you want to have two super large and beefy Cybertron alt mode versions of Ironhide and Ratchet. Even if you have the Bumblebee movie and Siege versions of Ironhide and Ratchet, the Gamer Edition figures are definitely must-have Ironhide and Ratchet action figures. So thank you guys all so much, and until next time, you guys, please remember to stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you to all my friends and subscribers for your continued support. This has been the TFN Geek, and until next time, you guys, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.